So this video will be pretty short. This just is some looking at a few more histograms from our class survey data and then talking about how to find proportions from histograms. So I'm just going to pick a few variables from our class survey data. We'll do a couple of them in Minitab and a couple of them in GeoGebra. So I already have the class data loaded into Minitab here. Remember, you can find that in D2L under Content, Statistics, Resources, and then at the top you'll see Data Files. And so to make a histogram here, you're going to go in the top menu bar to Graph, and then go to Histogram. And generally we're going to choose Simple. And then you'll see a list of all the possible variables in your data set. If it's a small data set, you won't have a lot of variables, and so on. So we could look at, say, states visited, hit select or double click, I think we'll also do it. You can mess with some, like scale might be good here. You can check out some of the options, but I'm just going to hit OK. And we can see on this one, I would say this is unimodal. We probably want to change the bin width a little bit if we can. It's not cooperating with me right now. Oh, there we go. Edit the X scale. And we can go to binning, and then you can say, you know, hey, I want, let's see, this has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. So maybe we want to try 7 bins and see how that looks. It looks a little messier, I think, but you got to click right on the x-axis. You can control where they stop and where they start. Let's go to 6. Then I might try 9. So yeah, I would say unimodal. It does have a little bit of a right skew. I do kind of like the one that it said first. Well, I'm going to try 9. Yeah, it's just a little bit of a right skew, unimodal, no outliers on this one. Let's see, another one I wanted to look at. A lot of these variables are right skewed. It just is the way that things are. One that kind of went the other way was our sleep time. Let's see here, sleep minutes. Close that. And you can see that this one's kind of, you know, we've got our mode over here on the right, it's somewhere, but you know, we've got 6 hours, and that's probably 8 hours there, and it kind of drags out to the left on that one. Again, we probably want to change the bins on this, the number of bins. So maybe do 9 on this one and see if that, you know, we do still kind of have that second. But I would argue that this is not bimodal here, that this is kind of all still part of the same hill, the same big hill, and it is skewed to the left. So let's look at a couple of these in GeoGebra. I'm going to bring up GeoGebra. I have it installed on my computer. You can use the web-based version there. It's the same. I'm going to switch over to Spreadsheet, and I'm going to open a file, local file. So you have to have downloaded it and saved it somewhere, and I've got it. There's our GeoGebra format, and it'll take a minute or two. And I like to go ahead and close out the graph that automatically comes up. So on this one, maybe we want to look at, let's look at the sleep time as well. Let's see, where was that? There we are, sleep minutes, and do the one variable analysis. And you know, again, we can kind of see this, you get down too many, you know, this is too chunky. There's not enough bins here. This is still a little too chunky. We can drag it up a little bit. It's getting a little bit better, but I probably like that one the best. So, you know, it's a personal preference what you think looks the best, but we can see it's definitely got that left skew on this one. Most people are getting a good night's sleep. So that's just playing around with some histograms here. So let's look at, let's go back to our PowerPoint and talk about finding proportions from histograms. So you do want to be able to find proportions from histograms. The book just kind of assumes you already know how to do this, but I find a lot of students are not confident in it. So basically, you need to look at the height of each bar that fits the criteria. You know, this might be, you know, people who had less than $20 in their pocket, or people who visited more than 15 states, or whatever. And you want to add up those heights, and then you're going to, of all the bars that fit the criteria, and then you're going to divide by the total sample, so the size of the total sample. If you don't know that, you're going to find it by adding up the heights of all of the bars in the histogram. So we've got an example here. This is from a prior semester. This is the number of states visited, and something happened to, there we go, how many were in the class. So we can kind of, now here we've got to kind of do our best estimate. So it looks like this is, it's a little more than halfway, so we're going to call these 3. This one, let's see if I can draw, I'm going to call that one 7. This one, it's 21 or 22. I'm going to go for 22 because I can't draw a straight line. That one maybe 28, and this one maybe 13. And so we would find out how many were in the class just by adding up all those numbers, which I'm going to pull out my little calculator here and add up 13 plus 28 plus 22 plus 7 plus 333 is 9. So I got 79 total. What proportion visited fewer than 10 states? So 10 is here, and this bar is going to include 10. So the 2 bars below it, this would be 0 to 4.999. This would be 5 to 9.999. So those are all the individuals that fit our criteria of visiting less than 10 states. So we would say, okay, what is 13 plus 28? That is 41 in those 2 bins, those 2 classes, out of the total 79. And if we want, we can say 41 divided by 79, that's about 0.519. So we'll write that's about 0.519, or 51.9%. WebWorks usually going to take that fraction, and I'll encourage you to put your fractions in instead. All right, one other example. This one we've got distribution of miles per gallon for a sample of cars. There we are. And so this one definitely, so describing it unimodal, we have one big hill, right? I would say it's slightly right skewed because our mode is here between the 23 to 27. We only have 2 bars to the left. We have 3 bars to the right, but it's not a real strong skew. So we'll say slightly skewed, right? And it doesn't look like there's any outliers. So we're going to make note of that. No outliers. There we go. So what proportion of cars had miles per gallon below 23 miles per gallon? Now, again, we've got to figure out how many cars there were here. So this looks like 4. I'm thinking 13. This might be 16. That looks like 10, 5, and let's say 2. So again, I'm going to add up, let's see, 4 plus 13 plus 16 plus 10 plus 5 plus 2, that's 7. So this is 50 cars, so that's our sample size, which is usually just almost, it's like always designated as N. That's total sample size. One's below 23. Again, you know, we're going to just go for these 2 here. So that would be 17, 4 plus 13, 17 out of 50. And if we said proportion, let's do a different one. Proportion above that had at least, let's do at least, because the left endpoint is included, at least 27 miles per gallon. That would be here, 27 and up. So we would say 10, 17, that one's also 17 over 50. I didn't intend for that to happen. All right, what was the highest miles per gallon? That one's actually a little bit of a trick question, because we know the highest miles per gallon is something between 35 and 39. So the highest we could say is 35 less than or equal to x less than 39, but we don't know where it falls in that interval. That's kind of the one downside of a histogram. It doesn't preserve the data value. So we can say, but we don't know exactly. All right. So that's, I think, it for this one. Keep, and we'll stop.